Hi, everyone. It's Deborah Hamilton. I'm here and I'm looking forward to our discussion tonight about trust and estates because I can tell you I have had no less than 7 attorneys call me for assistance in making the plan for their client, who I have to tell you has listened to the community call and taken me up on the offer to speak with their attorney. I might have to start charging because I realize that maybe the attorneys are taking all of my information and not necessarily using it in the appropriate way, but using it sort of to make their ability to respect someone's desire to take care of their pets, long-term, short-term, better, but without the really organized way that we do it. So hi, I'm Deborah Hamilton. You are here at the MAAP community call, which helps people navigate the journey their pet takes when they can't take care of it. I'm also Hamilton Law Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast. And of course, I help people in conflict over animals. So tonight we're going to talk about trust and estate. It was really, hey, Sally, hey, Stephanie, hey, Susan. I was saying before, I've spoken to 7 attorneys this week regarding how to make a plan for their pets, because people who have listened to this MAAP community call have had their attorneys call to get some more information. And I realized, I should probably license this stuff because it is my intellectual property. I don't have many intellectual brain cells left, but as all of you know, I do this every week. Remind me to remind you that we will not be here next week. I'll be at the Irish Setter Club of America next Wednesday. I am the chairman of the Veterans Sweepstakes. So all those sugar faces, Sally, will be there, except for the girls. I'm sorry, the girls are not going to make it. But we have 30 veterans entered from age 8 to age 13. So it will be really, really wonderful. So I will be at the Irish Setter Club America National in Lexington, Kentucky. And so I won't be here. And I've spoken with Rose and she said, it's okay if you decide to change it up for the summer. So she and I have come to terms with the fact that we are going to meet the first Wednesday of every month in July and August. So there'll be 2 meetings in the summer, just the first Wednesday in July from 6:30 to 7, or probably 7:30, since we'll have a lot to talk about. And the first Thursday in August. And since I'm away the first Wednesday, not Thursday, I've got to stop this. I've got to have my brain cells, reactivated. So for everyone who's listening, the MAAP community call will go to once a month for the months of July and August, because I am away the first Wednesday in June. So we will do the second Wednesday in June, but June will also be 1 Wednesday. July will be 1 Wednesday, the first Wednesday, and the first Wednesday in August. And then we will resume, unless everybody likes just 1 Wednesday a month better, the 4 Wednesdays a month come in September when we all go back to school at our regular schedules. Because I just have to tell you that this has been such an educational week for me. So I really have to put the brain cap on and decide how I'm going to help attorneys in trust and estate to figure out how to help their clients make plans to their pets. Several attorneys called me this week, 7 to be exact, and they all had clients who had been part of the MAAP community. Now, it isn't any of the 6 of you. So as Rose has assured me, there is about a 45 to 50% open rate on this community call. And we have, I don't know, maybe almost 1,000 people signed up for the MAAP community. So they asked their attorneys to call when they were making a plan for their pets to see if their attorneys could learn something. And I realized quickly that they were going to learn a lot. And I always like to help people who buy my MAAP program, help their attorneys know what they mean. However, that wasn't the case in most of these. They just had heard about it and they said, we want you to call her. And of course, I took the call because I want to help the animals to be cared for. That's my main drive here. However, I'm hopeful to be able to license something to attorneys so that they can assist all of their clients with pets, not just the ones who are members of the MAAP community. So that's what I'll be working on in the summer, because quite frankly, trust and estate attorneys don't know what they don't know, and they don't know how to take care of a pet if you're not dead yet. And we all know that's one of my mantras. I think that Connie has spoken a number of times about the fact that documentation is really important. And so that's another D. I think I'm up to 11 now, because you have to have everything documented, even in your plan. And these disbursements, another D, let me write that one down, disbursements, is important both outside your will and inside your will to care for your pets. So I'm going to check in with everyone first, because I always do, and see how everyone's doing. So I'll start with Susan. How are you, Susan? How's Maggie?
Yeah, she's doing great. I mean, her barking is unbelievable. And so I can't wait for Doug to come on Friday and help us with this, because it's just been very disruptive to things that we need to get done. And, you know, when she's not barking and biting, she's wonderful, but
well, it's a detail. It's a detail. So you'll have to write me and let me know, because we won't be talking until the second Wednesday in June. And then that will be the one Wednesday in June. Rose will remind everyone, but it'll be the second Wednesday in June, but then the first Wednesday going forward, every other month, July and August. So I'm glad she's okay. I'm not glad she's barking so much, but
I know, I just don't know why she does that, but
oh, she likes it. She's triggered. So we'll see what Doug says. So keep me posted. Jan, how
okay.
is our boy Tonka?
Tonka's doing great. It's good.
I loved your video today that you put out with him in it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And he's doing really well, you know, as we navigate tick season. And yeah, and just everything's good. The weather here has been actually spectacular. So
yeah, it's pretty cool here for North Carolina. So I'm thrilled. And I want to have everybody, and if Jan can cut and paste her Facebook post, she had a great Facebook post today about how to fight ticks organically. So if you can cut and paste it, if not, send it to Rose and she'll attach it to the recording when everybody gets it, because it had so much great information on how to take care of your pet with ticks. So, and other insects, because I have to tell you that Junie is being bitten by the mutated black flies that are down here in North Carolina. They're not black flies. They're not green flies. They're black flies with white spots on their wings, and they are triangular. The wings are triangular like this. It's really weird, but they bite really a lot. And I have found some organic stuff here at the Beaufort Market with lemon and eucalyptus and citronella, and it sounds like it smells really nice. Not so much. However, it works pretty well, I have to say, because when I don't miss a spot, I don't get bitten. When I miss a spot, they hone in like, you know, radar to that one spot. So if you find it, put it in the chat. Okay, Jan, if not, send it to Rose, and then we'll make sure we add it to the show notes. Sally, how are the girls? I know that they just got their mother home from a vacation.
Yeah, the girls, I assume they're great. When I arrived at 2 a.m., they were bounding out of the house. And when I went up to bed, Roxy jumped in bed and hugged me and just nuzzles with me. And Athena's not quite that strong, so she stayed right next to the bed. So I assume everybody's great. I'm following No Mow May. So our wildflowers and grass are about 2 feet high, and I keep checking for ticks. So
I know.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
say that the ticks hang out in the pine straw here, and of course, Junie walks in the pine straw all the time, so I'm always checking him for ticks as well.
yeah, so they're great.
Good, 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 good. So tonight, as I said, trust and estate is a really important piece of your planning because you really have to get an attorney to do it. You can do it on LegalZoom.com. But as I always say, you need someone there when you're writing your plans to say, that's what Sally meant, that's what Susan meant, that's what Jan meant, because, oh, I'm sorry, Stephanie, and I'm sorry, wow. Oh, good, the link is in the chat. I apologize, the faces didn't recognize. So Stephanie, how are you doing?
Yes, Yoda and I are doing well. Thanks so much.
Oh.
We're glad to be joining again.
Wonderful. Well, we're so glad you're here. And whoever is the 425 number, you're more than welcome to say hello and introduce yourself, or not. It's absolutely fine. Or you can pop something in the chat if you want, but either way is fine. We don't make anybody talk here. We just enjoy them in the community. So if you unmute, just interrupt me while I talk. I love being interrupted. So when you're making your trust and estate plan, it really is important to have someone do it with you. I know it costs a lot. It might cost $500, $1,000. If you're in New York, it might cost $2,000. However, it really is important to have someone make your trust and estate documents. And the trust and estate documents have to be what happens when you die. And then, as we always say, what happens when you're not dead yet? So if you hurt yourself and you break a bone, or you're undergoing chemotherapy, or you're delayed getting home, like if Sally hadn't gotten home, what would happen to the girls? If you have a disease, if you have a disability, if you are diagnosed with dementia, these plans have to be in place before that happens, or else it can be challenged. And so making a plan for the care of your pets, long-term, short-term, is an imperative. I know everyone here has their note up on the refrigerator that says, in case of an emergency, call this person, and this person, at least have one. I'm still waiting for Susan to show me hers. However, I believe it's up on the refrigerator. I'm willing it to be up on the refrigerator.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's Stephanie Davis's phone number, so I don't know, what, I haven't been in touch with her, and I'm not really sure if what she's doing right now.
Well, that's a really important point, because if you put the numbers up in the refrigerator, you have to call them at least once a year to make sure they're still good. So you
Yeah,
have to call her and say, listen, you are my contact in case something happens. Is that okay? And see if she's still living nearby or she's living far away. But I seem to remember she put you in touch with someone who had a puppy near you.
don't remember that.
Well, you know what? Make sure you call her. And of course, if you have a purebred dog, so for those of you who are new, Susan has a beautiful Coton de Tulier. Is that right? Did I say it right?
Pretty good, yeah.
Yay. Which is a little white fluffy dog like a Bichon. However, her breeder has retired and moved out of the state of Virginia. And Susan is trying to find people who, know about Cotons. And so if you have a purebred dog, you know that you can call the National Club of Purebred Dogs. So Sally could call Irish Setters, Susan could call Cotons, I could call Irish Setters and say, listen, is there anybody in my neighborhood who, I might be able to meet and befriend, and maybe they would be able to care for my pet short-term, long-term, because that's the hardest piece of the MAAP plan. Remember, I know I'm like a broken record, but MAAP stands for 4 things. Make a plan, appoint caregivers, address the needs of your pet, and publish that plan, because if you don't publish it, nobody knows it even exists. So you really want to make sure you find people who are going to take care of your pet. That might be your neighbor. I mean, if your neighbor loves your dog, or if you walk your dog in the neighborhood and 5 or 6 people come out and pet the dog, don't be afraid. Don't be bashful. Your dog's life might depend on it, to say, hey, if I was delayed, would you be able to come over and, let my dog out in the yard or whatever? And they might say, no, I really feel uncomfortable doing that. But they might say, oh, I would love to do that. I know I've had 3 or 4 people who've come up to me and offered to be my dog walker in the event that Jim and I are out and Junie's home alone, which would really be great unless a bunny arrived. And then they would probably be taken out. And so I hesitate to ever have anyone walk my dog. And if you have a fenced in yard, it's a little easier to let people help you with your dog because you know your dog can't get out by accident, or if they are bunnyfied and they take off because they see a bunny, which Junie would do. He's very good unless he sees a bunny. And I have to tell you that this part of North Carolina has multiplied like bunnies, multiple bunnies in multiple areas. So Junie is losing his mind. When you're making your trust and estate plans, make sure that you talk to your attorney about making a plan for your pets that happens if you're not dead yet. So what I mean by that is it has to live outside your will, because all the plans you make that you place in your will don't come to fruition unless you're dead. And some people just don't understand this. I've given this program to so many breed clubs and dog walking groups and training clubs, dog training clubs, agility, rally, obedience. And I at least have one or two people who come up to me at the end and say, Deborah, this was a great program and I'm all set. Everything's in my will. And if I could slam my head against the wall, I would, because I must say it, and I'm sure all the ladies here who come regularly to the meeting will say yes ad nauseum. You say, it has to be outside the will. You have to make a plan that stands on its own, outside the will, is funded maybe by $1,000 or $2,000, whatever it would take to get your pet from point A to point B to the person who's going to care for it, buy them maybe a bag of food. It's not, this long-term care payout. It's more an assistance to get the dog to where it needs to go while you get home, while you recover. And also, we want to make sure that if we can, and you have something like, God forbid, cancer or dementia, that the dog can stay with you for as long as possible, because you are going to be more grounded and more aware if your dog stays with you. So what I'm going to do is while I'm having this for once a month, is I'm going to create that plan for attorneys, and I'm going to bring it to attorneys so that the people here might not need to actually, hey, Donna, how are you? Nice to see you. Donna is a colleague of mine at the AVMLA. She's the president of the American Veterinary Medical Law Association. She's an attorney in Texas, and she said she would be here. So Donna, introduce yourself and tell us who your pet.
All right. Thank you. I don't want to interrupt. I think this is incredibly valuable. And one point about it being in the will, Deborah, that I just want to mention is, in Texas, you don't have to probate a will for 4 years. If you haven't made a plan and nobody knows about it, particularly if you haven't told people that it's in your will, your administrator or executrix may be totally relaxed and only find out after they've disposed of the horses and closed the kennel and gotten rid of the dogs that, oh my God, she had a plan in mind. So it is really important what you're saying. So I practice here in Montgomery, Texas. I run a tiny little informal rescue and take in miscellaneous animals as needed. And I have at this time 9 horses, 4 cats, and 5 dogs, all of whom, well, the horses were delivered. The dogs mostly and the cats mostly just appeared.
Arrived on the doorstep of a kind person.
Yes, right. And I have a kitten. Now, if anybody urgently needs another cat, I have the most darling kitten. Of course, every kitten is the most darling kitten. But I do think it is really important. And it's also true what Deborah mentioned. One reason I wanted to sign in tonight, that it's one thing to think about your death. People can get their head around that. Getting their head around, what if I had a stroke? What if I were in an accident and were disabled for 6 months? And yet, I think that people don't realize that your heirs or whoever has your power of attorney may be so overwhelmed that the last thing they're in the mood to do is to make a plan for the dog or the cat or the horses or the llamas or whatever you treasure. And after all, to many people, horses and llamas and so on are just livestock. So they may not even realize that they matter to you as much as they do. And a hunting dog is just a valuable bird dog. It's not a beloved friend.
I know.
So,
I'm so glad you're here, Donna, pointing that out, because it is what I do every week. So I'm so glad you're here to confirm, so people don't think that I'm talking off the top of my head, but rather in real terms for attorneys, they don't necessarily know how to do this or how to help you do it. And that's why the MAAP community is here, because not only do we help you make the plan you want to make for your pet, dead or alive, you dead or alive, not them, but we help you find the people, you appoint caregivers, you address the needs of your pet. So if you have that new kitten and it has to have, grain-free food, or if you have an older cat who needs medication, they know about that. And then you have to publish it, as Donna said. If it takes 4 years to probate a will in Texas, your animals will be long gone before they're given to the person you intended them to give to, unless there's something there that points the administratrix or executrix or administrator to who, I put 2 words together there.
worked.
But it worked. It worked.
Yeah, right. Sounds great.
Thanks.
Well, I think that's right. And I think also that for many attorneys, frankly, inadvertently, they can be creating a real problem for the pet owner. Because if they draft just an ordinary standard durable power of attorney for healthcare, and there's no provision made at the same time and made known to the attorney for the pets, the person with the power of attorney for healthcare may put their friend or their cousin or their mom or their dad in a perfectly nice nursing home and have the dog put to sleep because the dog's a pain in the neck, or a place that will allow you to keep your pet is $1,000 a month more, or whatever. And in fact, a woman friend of mine who is a paralegal, when her parents finally declined to the point where she simply stepped in, the first thing she did was have a decrepit dog that they owned and loved put to sleep. She got them into a nursing home that took the other dog. The other dog bit someone, and within 2 weeks, she had it put to sleep. And it broke her heart to do it. And she has her own dog and she loved them. But there was no plan in place, no fallback plan for those animals. And I think, although it was probably her only option, given that, there wasn't anything else in place, there could have been another arrangement in place.
Well, I so appreciate that story, because I give my stories, and I love when people come and talk about their stories, because this does happen. You inadvertently forget to leave information regarding who it is that you want to care for your pet in a place where somebody can find it and execute it. And you forget to ask your attorney when you're making your trust and estate plans, hey, does this cover my pet if I'm dead or alive? It is the one statement that you have to make, because I give talks to trust and estate attorneys all the time, and I love them very much. However, they only ask, how much money should I leave in the will for the care of the pets? And this is another time when I slam my head against the wall, like I do when the breeders say, oh, it's in my will. Okay, so why did I stand up here for an hour and chat with you? Or why did I stand up here and chat with the attorneys? Because they only want to know certain things that make their life easier. Making a MAAP plan doesn't make their life easier. And so I'll tell you, when I spoke to these 7 attorneys and 1 paralegal, all they kept saying was, oh my God, I didn't know that. Oh my God, I didn't know that. Oh my God, this is great information. Oh my God, I'm going to go home and do this myself. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, Rose and I have to sit down and make a plan that we can license to attorneys so that my intellectual property is a little protected, Donna, because I don't mind giving it to pet owners. But when attorneys, don't have them make a MAAP plan, which all of you can do on my website, hamiltonlawmediation.com, just go to the do-it-yourself MAAP plan. You can make the MAAP plan, and then you can bring it to your attorney. And I always talk to attorneys after that. Or you can join us at a workshop, which will probably happen in September, October. Well, September, because I'm not going to be here in October, but in September. So that people can make the plan, understand what the needs are, understand why you're making it, and make it in a way that's really thoughtful and focused. Because most people make the plans for their pets over a glass of wine, or their attorney says, well, just leave it to your kids. Your kids will do it. And Donna, you probably have heard of, like you just said, children or nieces and nephews, when the older person dies, if the dog is old and decapitated, they put them to sleep. And that might not be the worst thing, because you certainly don't want the dog to go somewhere where it's worse off. That's absolutely true.
Right.
And I had a client who, when we were doing the MAAP plan, she said, well, I don't really need to do the MAAP plan, because if I die, all my dogs that are alive when I die are put to sleep and with me. And, actually, she just passed away, and her dog is now living with the handler. So I'm not sure what's going to happen to that dog if her will says all the dogs that, are alive and that she owns. But I think she co-owns this dog with other people. So I think that might override her desire to put the dogs in her possession to sleep. And, I never argue with anyone who wants to do something like that, because if they certainly don't have anyone and the dog is older, and the dog will pine for its owner, and there's nobody there who really wants to work on engaging with the pet and having the pet feel secure, then maybe having it put to sleep when you die is important as well. So that's what we talk about at the workshop.
Yes, but you're absolutely right. But again, one of the hardest things is reminding people this is like checking the batteries in the fire alarm. You have to reconsider it, because if that person has an old and decrepit dog, maybe that is the kindest solution. But if she gets a new puppy,
right,
2 years before she has a stroke or something, that's no longer, or may not be, what she would want. Right. And a judge may not enforce it either.
And they might not, and that would be a saving for the dog. But then what happens to the dog? Because there's no plan for the dog, because she had ordered it to be put to sleep. So that's why, Donna, we always suggest at the end of MAAP we put S. So set a date to check in with everyone you've appointed as your caregivers to make sure they still live in a pet-friendly environment. Some people move and forget, oh, shoot, I told Jan I was going to take her dog, and now I live in a dog-free environment. Well, unless Jan knows that, she's going to have me in her MAAP plan. She's going to have me in her living will. She's going to have me in her, trust and estate documents, thinking, oh, Deborah will take Tonka. She loves Tonka. And right. I would take Tonka, except for the fact that I now live in a pet-free building, so I can't. And he's not even, so Tonka's like as big as I guess a shepherd, maybe a little smaller, right. But he's a big dog. I could not put him in my purse and take him in, or in my backpack and take him in with nobody noticing. So it is really important to, and of course, not that the dog is decrepit only and then you get a young dog. Well, what happens if you have a young dog and then at age 6 it needs medication, and then at age 12 it needs more medication? You need to update these things all the time, which was why I built the MAAP plan, because I don't think attorneys should have to rewrite the will every time your dog has a change in their status with the veterinarian. I think that the MAAP plan can be referred to in the will as the dispositive document for your pets, but then you have 2 responsibilities. One is updating it all the time, and the second one is giving it to your attorney. And of course, state laws vary, so the attorney will tell you whether or not that's going to work, but most of the time it does work.
The other thing is to think about the person that you appoint for your power of attorney for healthcare may not be the best person for the pets.
Right.
And may feel that it's ridiculous to have a horse you can't ride, or to spend $1,000 a year on the dog's medication or something. And people's values, differ, especially if the person that's appointed in your durable power of attorney or whatever is also your heir. And then they feel like, why should we spend $12,000 a year to keep mom's elderly horse going when the horse isn't worth anything anyway?
Those are all really, really great points of importance for everyone to know. I wanted to make sure everyone heard about the new and interesting influx of calls I'm getting from attorneys wanting to learn about how to make a better plan for their pets. I'm going to check in with everyone. Sally had to leave. So Jan, I'm going to start with you. What are your last thoughts on this?
No, I always find it reminds me of something, and, Tonka's care has changed a bit. So I have to get my plan out and update it so that he's well cared for in the case of I'm not it.
Yeah, well, you better not it, because we would miss you. So you better be sticking around for a while.
I
Tonka,
know. And Tonka would
not be happy.
not be happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Susan, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, just that I remembered what you were referring to. The lady was in Williamsburg, not locally, but my other thought about all this is how more complicated my situation is, because I want my son to always have access to my dog. And, he gets a lot of emotional support from the dog. It's a little more difficult to think through how that would work, but just keeping the MAAP plan for the dog, and then also getting the behavior under control so that I can find people willing to support her or
And
help us.
support her to be with your son if God forbid something happens. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's a lot
Yep.
to process and
It
think
is,
about.
and that's why we come here every week. Remember, I won't be here next week because I'll be at the Irish Setter Club American National. Stephanie, I'm going to check in with you in a minute, and Donna, check in a minute. And remember, we're going to be the second Wednesday in June, and then the first Wednesdays in July and August. And then we'll discuss on the first Wednesday in September if we keep it once a month or if we go back to 4 times a month. So Stephanie, what's your takeaway today for Yoda?
For Yoda and I mean, I definitely agree with the comment that was just made. I think specifically the part about like access and kind of like how to ensure it and how important that really is to like an entire family.
It really is for the family and for everyone. Don't forget to check the chat. Jan's post on Facebook with respect to how to care for your pet in tick season is up there. You can click to it now, so that it'll open up on your browser and you can look at it after we leave. It won't do anything for the Zoom. You'll still be here. Donna, what's your takeaway?
Had to unmute. I have my video off, by the way, because I had minor surgery and I still look a little battered. Well, my takeaway is I'm actually wrestling with a problem that kind of a first world problem. I have a client who is not wealthy but has assets, and she has a person who lives on the farm and helps take care of the animals. And the client went away for a couple of days and had various friends coming in, those who could cope with the horses, those who could cope with the dogs, and so on. And the farm helper made every effort to thwart their care of the animals. Why are you here? You're not necessary. I could have done this, and so on. And trying to gently point out, sometimes someone that we like and trust is not really well suited to be put in a position of control. And sometimes the documents even may need to say, just as when you do documents about human care, sometimes you say, please don't consult or allow so-and-so to have any voice in my medical care. Sometimes if you're really, really thinking through it, you need to exclude someone from the pets, a husband who thinks the horses cost too much, a farm worker who takes the position that he's actually a farm manager and ought to be in charge. That person needs to be at crafting documents that will gently but firmly make sure that that person doesn't take over the plan. Has been a real project.
Yeah, I have to tell you that is so important when you're having people who are going to care for the pets. When we talk about our caregivers, we always want everyone to know that there are three, if you can find three, and that all three are equal, and that all three are going to watch each other, so that if one is
Right.
having a hard time or isn't doing what they think, there's a conversation, and that should be a collaborative conversation instead of an accusatory conversation, so that you can make sure the pets come out with the best care at the end of the day. So that is really an important piece. Thank you, Donna. And
Thank you. That's
so,
generous.
yeah,
That was
no, it really is, because, we always talk about our three caregivers, and we always talk about how our three caregivers have to know each other. So that if I get called and I can't get there, well, then Susan knows that she's taking care of Jan's dogs and she'll get there. So it really is important for everyone to know everybody. And that is redundancy of care as well, and also a little bit of an oversight of care, because I can tell you the attorneys are not coming out to your farm to see how your horses are being cared for, or your house to see how your dogs and cats are being cared for. They're not doing it. So you really need to find people, as Donna pointed out, that are really collaborative and willing to work with everyone and not have to, be in charge, but rather, be brave enough to raise questions if they need to, but also to work together to make sure everyone takes care of the pets. And that's really important. So until next week, this is Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, and of course, our wonderful MAAP community. And it won't be next week. Hello, it'll be the second Wednesday, which is the 7th of June. I will be here with bells on to tell you about the National and to tell you about all the new things that I found out at National. So until then, kiss Maggie, kiss Yoda, kiss Tonka, and Donna, I don't know your dog's names, but kiss all the dogs and cats and horses. And 425, kiss your pet as well. I am grateful all of you are here. And until June 7th, take very good care of yourselves. Bye now.
Bye-bye.